Stemming from the success of the first Final Fantasy, a sequel was inevitable, so in 1988, Square released Final Fantasy II on the Famicom. Once again, when you start up the game, there's a blue screen with a message giving you some background to the story. The evil empire of Paramikia has summoned demons to take over the world, and it's up to you to stop it. No characters or places are the same as in the first Final Fantasy, creating an entirely new world and a totally different premise. The only similar plot element are the 4 orbs, or crystals, which you find late in the game, which power up your characters and give you the spell Ultima. Now, you can still name your characters whatever you want, but this time around Square did name the main characters, so I'm going to stick with what they are supposed to be called. The characters are Firion, originally called Frionel, whose sprite looks kinda like the fighter from the first game, Leon, called Leonhardt in the Japanese release, Maria, an archer and Leon's younger sister, and Guy, an axe-wielding monk who, for some reason, can talk to beavers. So now your adventure begins. As soon as all your characters die. Now your adventure can begin. Now, upon fighting a few battles, you'll notice something odd. Your characters don't gain experience points after finishing off some enemies. No, this time around, Square decided to implement a new system for leveling. It works kinda like this. The more attacks you dole out, the stronger your characters will become, and the better they'll get with the weapon that they're using. The more times you cast a certain spell, the spell will eventually level up, becoming more effective and costing more MP. The more damage you take, the more your HP and vitality will go up, and so on and so forth. Now, this kind of makes sense, but it also makes for an extremely grindy game, forcing you to continuously beat up on your own characters to raise their strength and HP in order to stand a chance against some of the enemies you'll face. Oh, and you can attack yourselves and raise your own HP. You can even just select your characters, and then cancel your action, and then reselect them over and over again, and your characters will still level up their stats. Doesn't really make any sense. Anyway, after a bit of cutting myself and then healing on the map, I got to the second town with all my characters at over 500 HP, Maria with Cure level 3, my guy's feeling pretty powerful. However, the game's map and story are pretty non-linear, so you can walk into a tough area pretty early and get your ass handed to you by monsters who you stand no chance against early on. Even from the starting town, if you simply walk south 12 spaces, you can fight mallows and jellies, which will be impossible to kill at the start of the game. Now about the story. Compared to the first game, this game is pretty long. There are more characters to talk to, more locations to visit, and more dungeons to explore. The story has quite a bit more substance than the first game, and is pretty detailed and deep, especially for a game on the NES, when you really don't see a lot of games with too much plot. Also, in how many games do you get to throw down with Satan himself? Not too many, I'll tell ya. There's a password system in the game, which works like this. When talking to a certain character, they may say some important word or phrase such as worship or Ultima. Well, you learn these words and repeat them to other characters later on, and you learn about things about where to go or what to do. In general, it's kind of a waste of time because you don't always know exactly what to say to a person, so you kind of have to just select things one by one until you say something that makes sense to them. So it takes up more time than it really should, and really doesn't add too much to the plot at all. Throughout the game, you'll get several characters who join your party and fight alongside you. Some characters simply leave your party, while, for the first time in the series, some playable characters actually die. Yet, I kind of found myself not really caring about these characters because, for the most part, they're barely in your party, and don't really have time for you to get to know them and care about them. And why couldn't we have Paul the Ninja? He would have been awesome to play as. This game is pretty notable for including several races and characters who would reoccur in the future games in the series, including chocobos, a character named Sid, behemoths, and those cuddly, cute creatures, Malboros. The music is alright. When I first started the game, I really didn't like the battle theme and the overworld theme, but they did grow on me over time. Overall, though, I think the music in the first game is far superior. Oh yeah, and by the way, the town theme is totally Avenged Sevenfold.
Cold state line.
Final Fantasy II had the potential to be a great game, but was bogged down heavily by the leveling system. If it had a more traditional system, it would probably be better than the first game in the series, but because it doesn't, the Silent Warriors of Light remain superior. Feel free to skip this one unless you're intent on playing every game in the series or just crazy about all kinds of different RPGs. You won't really be missing too much.